Hey guys, this is Austin with ThoughtsFired. I think that a lot of the times people grow up not thinking that their childhood was exactly the way that it was meant to be, and I'd say 9 times out of 10 nowadays that's not the case. That's a bunch of nonsense. Because I guess we'll start out with how childhood should have looked with your parents. So to start off, when you were a child, when you started crying, your parents should have come to your rescue and coddled you and made you feel better. Regardless of what time of night it was, regardless of what the situation was, a parent who's doing their job the correct way to allow their child to reach their full potential is going to love their child in any given situation, regardless of what's going on. So your parent, when you were crying, should have come and coddled you and taken care of you and made sure you were okay. They should have fed you, they should have burped you, or done whatever they needed to do to make you stop crying. That's their job. That's your job if you are a parent, by the way. If your diaper was full, it's their job to change it. No one else's. It's their job to change it immediately. When you got hurt, a good parent does not say, "Oh, well, you're just whining. You're being a wimp. That didn't hurt. Go keep playing." They validate your existence. A lot of the time, well, I would say most of the time, people develop their relationships based on what their relationship was with their parents. So if you had a dad that didn't really give a shit about you unless you're being successful, then your chances are, for you females, that's going to be a similar situation with your future husbands. That's just the way that she goes. So the thing is, you know, these people, a lot of the times what happens is you'll wind up, depending on who you are, I mean, not everyone lives in a codependent household, but a lot of us do, including me right now, actually. Which is funny because I left the last state I was in to escape a codependent household just to wind up in another codependent household, which is so interesting how the universe delivers lessons that you obviously need to learn. The point is, if you don't recognize what your relationship with your parent was, and if you don't recognize that their relationship to you is the same as their relationship to their parent, you know, from the next level, it's just like, my parent treated me like this, I'm never going to treat my kid like that until you have a kid. Life gets difficult, you start feeling a little hopeless, you don't make the best of your situation, you are no longer living, you're just surviving, and you have this kid. Well, now you're going to treat that kid exactly the way that you were treated, regardless of whether or not you felt like that was what you were going to do. It turns into this thing where you're now hopeless and you can't help it. Okay, and that's what your parents did. So you can't exactly blame them, but you can recognize the fact that the only reason you act the way that you do is because the way they've treated you in, as you know, 0 through 12, so, which are your most impressionable years. It's where you download your operating system for the rest of your life, unless you become conscious of the fact that it's not you that you're acting as. This is what causes the void, is we're acting like someone that we're not and expecting things to go, or expecting life to be the one that we want when we're not even being ourselves. And it's not your fault, it's not your parents' fault, it's just that, well, that's the way she goes. If you don't take charge of your own life, your life is going to turn out shitty. It's just the way that it is, my friend. So really, you need to recognize what it is that when something happens to you, 9 times out of 10, that's a reflection of who you are being reflected to you from the outside world. So anyways, you have to recognize what it is that you learned from your parents, and then turn around and make adjustments based on what you learned from them. So what you learned from them, bits of it aren't going to make sense. If it all made sense, then you would have a great life. That's the bottom line. So you need to find out what doesn't make sense in the way that you're acting and the beliefs that you have, and you need to go in and you need to manually change them. That's right, you have to form new habits. I know, it sounds really shitty and difficult, but it's not. It's really, well, it depends on if you have hope for the follow through. You need to start understanding how you feel and why you feel, and what was the first time that you felt this, and how look at things from a third person perspective, so that you can actively judge what you've been doing with your life. You need to understand, love it, let it go, and decide how you're going to act the next time. And when you do this, all of a sudden things that were a problem are going to seem less and less and less like problems. And all of this hopelessness that you've developed over the years, which I've noticed that younger and younger people are becoming hopeless. And in my mind, that's like the midlife crisis, but it's happening in our 17, 18 years. You know, it's good though, because it means people are maturing much faster. And there's some people that are never going to mature. That's something that you also need to know, is that you can't teach anyone, you can't find the truth and then expect everyone to just go along with status quo. This is something that people die over. You can't make people believe what you believe, and just because you believe it and it is the truth doesn't mean that it's, just because only you believe it doesn't mean that it's not the truth, right? So a lot of people are really ignorant, and they will try to make you out to be the ignorant one. So if they do that, just say, okay, I guess my help is not needed here. I am no longer trying to assist you, I'm assisting me. I love me, and I'm going to find out what I need and where I can get that. Find out if you're the one in the wrong, fix it. If they're the one in the wrong, ask them what they think about how you feel. You know what I mean? Don't ask them, oh, why didn't you buy me dinner when you bought everyone else dinner, you know? Instead of asking them that, why don't you ask them, how do you think that made me feel? And then all of a sudden they can't go into their brain and find some bullshit excuse as to, oh, my ass is cold. And I just stabbed my hand. Ow, fuck. Anyway, you're giving them permission to find a bullshit excuse when you ask them why they did something, because when they say, this is why I did it, they've developed an idea. When you know you're doing something wrong, you inevitably come to the conclusion of why did I do it if anyone asks, so that you can justify your own behavior, right? So ask them why how they think you feel when they do something like that, and that makes it so that they have not prepared themselves. And if they, in the future, after you ask that, and make it a habit of asking that instead, then eventually they're going to actually assume that you're going to ask that, and then they're going to try and come up with an answer when it's much easier to argue that, because that's your feelings, you know what I mean? That's not something that can be manipulated by someone else, because there's how you feel and how they want you to think that you should have felt. But there's a very definitive difference, and you're the one with the knowledge, not them. They don't know shit about how you would feel unless they're being honest with themselves. So that's how you deal with that. I don't know what I am going to call this video. I'm going to have to watch it and stuff. But anyways, I don't know where else to go with this. My ass is cold. I'm going home. So I will catch you on the flip side.
Set you free in that situation is you realizing this is my ego, this is not me, and I can't feel genuine love and compassion through this ego. This ego is fake. It was built to protect me, but